So in today's lesson, we're going to be doing two-step equations, including fractions. So same process here as our two-step equations with integers and decimals, except for now we're going to have to work with fractions. So not a whole lot different. Simplify both sides of the equation. Remember, turn all mixed numbers into improper fractions. That's our first step. Get rid of addition and subtraction to the side of the variable. Remember, you need a common denominator when adding and subtracting fractions. Step 3, get rid of multiplication and division to the side of the variable. And remember, we do follow order of operations backwards, so if we do have any invisible parentheses, we'll have to do that last. So here to get started, we need to get step 1. We need to turn this mixed number into improper fractions. So we'll do 2 times 2, that is 4. So I like to write plus 4 up here. So that's going to turn into negative 5 halves n. Okay, again, 1 plus 4 is 5, and the denominator stays the same. So I have plus 1 is equal to 6. All right, at this point, what I need to look at here is I am adding and subtracting right here, and I don't even need a common denominator because I am working with whole numbers or integers. So I'm just going to subtract 1 on both sides. This one actually turned out to not be too bad. We bring negative 5 halves n down, and this equals 5. Okay. Now, remember, when you multiply with fractions, it doesn't matter. You don't need common denominators. So let's go ahead and multiply by negative 2 over 5. We've got to multiply by the reciprocal. Whatever you do to one side, you got to do the other. So multiply by negative 2 over 5. Now, if you want to, you can turn 5 into a fraction, which is 5 over 1. Okay, so over here, you're going to lose your negatives. Your 2's will cancel, your 5's will cancel. You're left with n. So n is equal to, now here, your 5's are going to cancel. And you're left with negative 2 over 1, so that's just negative 2, okay? Now you can plug that in and check it. You can always use a calculator to check that out. Negative 2.5 times negative 2 plus 1, that's going to give you 6, okay? Go ahead and check that with your calculator, and you'll find that out. Here with the next problem, again, we got a whole lot of mixed numbers here. Let's get those into improper fractions. So 1 times 9, so we got to add 9. 2 times 3. Okay, so we're going to have to add 6, and this is just a regular fraction, so we don't have to worry about that one. So let's go here. We go 11 ninths is equal to 7 thirds plus 2 thirds n. Okay, now what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get rid of the 7 thirds. However, that's going to involve adding and subtracting. So we need to have a common denominator with this one over here. So let's go ahead and multiply the top and bottom by 3. And let's rewrite the whole thing. So let's go 11 ninths equals 21 ninths plus 2 thirds n. Now I do not need this to have a common denominator because this is multiplication and division. Okay. So now let's subtract our 21 ninths from both sides. All right. When I do that, I'm going to bring down my 2 thirds n. Again, this is a positive here, so I don't have to worry about bringing that down. Let's bring down our equal sign. And here, if we have a positive 11 and a negative 21, we're going to have a negative 10 ninths. Okay, now I'm going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal, which is 3 halves. All right, now when I do that, my 2 is going to be gone, my 10 is going to become a 5, my 3 is going to be gone, and my 9 is going to become a 3. And so what I'm left with here is n is equal to negative 5 thirds. Now remember, I like improper fractions, so we can leave it just like that. That is the final answer. Again, you can use your calculator to check that out. Okay, now this one here, you can go ahead and try to get rid of that box there. Okay, now this one here, we go ahead and multiply 6 times 12. Okay, and when you do that, 6 times 12 is going to be 72. So we actually have to add 72 to the numerator. And then we'll do 2 times 3, which is 6. So you got to add 6 to the numerator there. Now what we get here is 79 twelfths, and that is negative, because I have a negative right there. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and convert the 1, convert that into 12 over 12. So I get a common denominator with that one. That's pretty easy to convert. And then we're going to subtract 7 thirds v. Now I do not need a common denominator with this one because this is multiplication. Okay, so let's go ahead and get rid of this 12 over 12 on both sides. Okay, bring down your negative here and bring down your 7/3 v and also bring down your equal sign. So we got negative 7/3 v is equal to, okay, now when I take 79 and combine that with the negative 12, I'm going to get a negative 91 over 12. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to multiply by the reciprocal. Again, I wanted to get rid of that negative also, so I'll multiply by a negative 7/3 on both sides. Again, negative 7/3. Oh, excuse me, negative 3/7 on both sides, right? Because it is 7/3, so I multiply by negative 3/7 on both sides, which will actually make it nicer over here because I can simplify some things. So again, over here, my negatives cancel, my 3's cancel, my 7's cancel. I'm left with v, which is what I want. Here, my negatives are going to cancel. My 3 is going to go away. My 12 is going to change to a 4. Okay, and 91 is divisible by 7, so the 7 is going to go away, and the 91 is going to turn into a 13. So I'm going to end up with 13/4. And that is simplified, so that's going to be my final answer, and you can go ahead and check it by plugging it in using your calculator. All right, so this next problem here, we need to, again, convert all mixed numbers to improper fractions. So 1 times 2 is 2. Go ahead and add that. Then it looks like we're good the rest of the way. So we'll go with 1/2 is equal to negative 3/2. That already has a common denominator, so that's good. And then we go plus 2n. Okay, so now let's add 3/2 to both sides again. We already had a common denominator, so we're ready to go. Let's bring the 2n down and the equals. So I have 2n is equal to 4/2. Okay, now normally we would go ahead and divide by 2, but since I'm working with a fraction over there, let's turn the 2 into a fraction and let's multiply by 1/2. Let's multiply by the reciprocal instead. So let's multiply by 1/2 over here. The 2's are going to cancel. I'm left with n. And over here, the 2 is going to go away. The 4 is going to turn into a 2, and 2 over 2 is just plain 1. So we are set. If we do negative 1/2 plus 2 times 1, okay, if you do 2 and you subtract 1/2, you're going to have a half left. So that does make sense. So now let's go ahead and get rid of this mixed number over here. So 3 times 5 is 15, so we're going to add that to the numerator. The rest of them are improper fractions, or just whole numbers or integers. So let's go ahead and copy it down. We'll go negative 18/5 is equal to negative 4/3 x minus. Now, since I don't want to get rid of this first, I'm going to go ahead and change the denominator. Okay, I need it to be a denominator of 5, and it has to equal 2. So something divided by 5 has to equal 2, and that's 10. So minus 10/5. 10/5 is equal to 2, so this means the same thing here. So now, since we have a common denominator, let's go ahead and add 10/5 to both sides. Okay, and so I'm going to have to bring this down. Don't forget to bring this negative down with it. So we got negative 4/3 x is equal to negative 8/5. Now let's multiply by the reciprocal, negative 3/4. Okay, multiply both sides by negative 3/4. Okay, all I'm left with over here on the right side is my x. All right, the negatives cancel. All right, the 4 is gone, the 8 goes to a 2, and so I'm left with positive 6/5. Okay, because 3 times 2 is 6, and then I got a 5 down here. All right, so that's going to be my final answer. Again, you can plug that in and check it if you would like. All right, our last two examples. I see I got a lot to work with here, so let's get started by changing everything to improper fractions. So 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 2 is 4, and 6 times 6 is 36. So let's go ahead and rewrite the whole thing. Let's go negative 7/2 minus 5/2 b equals negative 41/6. Okay, now the first thing I have to get rid of here is this negative 7/2, but notice over here I have a 6 as my denominator. So let's multiply the top and the bottom by 3. And so I'm going to get negative 21 over 6 minus 5 halves b is equal to negative 41 6. Okay, now I can add my 21 6 to both sides. All right, bring my negative down, bring my variable down, bring my equals down. So this is 0. So I'm going to get negative 5 halves b is equal to, and when I do negative 41 plus 21, that'll give me a negative 20 over 6. All right, now I need to multiply by the reciprocal. So negative 2/5. Do that on both sides. Multiply by negative 2/5. Okay, I'm left with my b on the left. My negatives both cancel. My 5 cancels, my 20 changes to a 4, my 2 cancels, my 6 changes to a 3, and I'm left with positive 4/3. Again, I like improper fractions, so that's your final answer. Okay, so it started off, the problem didn't look too nice, but you just got to start working at it and keep plugging away at it. You know, get all your mixed numbers to improper fractions and change your addition and subtraction so we have common denominators, and then just keep on working using all your skills there with fractions, okay? So let's start here. Let's do 1 times 3. So we're going to have to add 3. So we're going to get 5/3 a plus, now let's go ahead and change this so we have a fraction with a denominator of 9. Okay? Here we have negative 7/9. That's why I wanted a denominator of 9, because we're going to have to get rid of this part first. And so I need a denominator over here. Now, what divided by 9 equals 2? So I have 18. Okay, plus 18 divided by 9. 18 divided by 9 is 2. So that's, that's the same thing. Okay, so now we can subtract the 18/9 on both sides. Okay, bring down your 5/3 a. Bring down your equal sign. Okay, this is gone, and we end up with negative 25/9. Now let's go ahead and multiply both sides by the reciprocal, 3/5. Do that on both sides. Okay, so we're left with a is equal to negative, because here's your negative, and then the 5 and the 25. The 25 is going to go to a 5, and the 3 will cancel, and the 9 will go to a 3. So negative 5/3 will be your answer. Okay, again, you can check all these with your calculator using the function, the fraction button. So right here I have a 5/3. If I do 5/3 times negative 5/3 plus 18/9, so it's going to give me negative 7/9. So if you check that, it will work for you. And that's our last example for solving two-step equations involving fractions.